Mm,
Hello.
Hi. Pulling up my notes again. All right.
That's fine.
Oh, yep. Sorry. Didn't realize I didn't start my video.
I want your face.
You have my face.
I love your face. Let's go with this. All righty, here we go. All right, this will be part 4, and it is recording. Hallelujah, Jesus. I hope these recordings have worked. CG, I am scared. I should have checked one of them, but it's like converting to an
Yes.
MP4.
Have
And I'm like,
Have you recorded on Zoom before?
no.
So yeah, it's really straightforward. It'll send you a link to like access it via your account, and then you can also download it like directly to your computer.
Yeah, I'm downloading it directly to my computer so I can upload it directly to the script and see how that all
Yeah.
hashes out. But oh my gosh, I'm like, please do not, Satan, name of Jesus, you were bound on this one because he will jack with me. I suck. I suck at this technology stuff. I'm so far behind. Okay. All right. All right. This is the part of.
Okay. I'm just knocking stuff over.
No, it's fine. Keep
All
knocking them.
right.
Okay. Okay. Have you taken dogs out? Will you have Bella take dogs out? Thanks, Mother. Oh my gosh, we are. My son is going to get our. My husband's going to get my son, and then pick up a mattress because he's coming over here to stay, and then we are flying my son's girlfriend in for Thanksgiving week. First time. I
That's
hope I like
exciting.
her, CG. What if
Have
I think we
you
will. She's sweet,
have
sweet girl.
have you interacted with her at all at this
A
point?
little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a sweetheart, but I'm like, oh, she's gonna be with us this whole week. And it's like, hi, we live in Chicago in a high rise with 2 bedrooms and 2 baths. And there's 5 of us that are gonna be here today. Yeah, for the whole
Yeah.
week until
That's
Sunday.
exciting.
I think I might die. I think I might have to get a hotel room for myself. Anyway, that's just me. Dear Jesus. What are you guys doing for Thanksgiving?
We have 2 back-to-back Friendsgivings. So we're doing a Friendsgiving
Fun.
Wednesday and a Friendsgiving Thursday.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'll be so fun. Oh,
Yes.
those are the best kinds.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Are you ready? All right, let's see. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is part 4 of the one step you can take to getting the mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual support that you need right now. And I'm here with Ciji Wagner from louderthansilence.org. And I'm really excited for this part 4. She actually surprised me when we originally did this conversation, this interview. And I was like, wait, what? I did not like her number 3, by the way. I'm just going to let you know that until I was like, oh, I really like her number 3. That's really, really, really good. This is CG talking. CG, would you please talk to us about what 3 steps can we take like right now? What would you do if you were starting this journey of healing and wholeness?
Mhm.
What would you do? What would you tell somebody that they should do right now?
Yeah. Um, Again, great questions. I love your questions. They make me
I
so
love my
happy.
questions too. Somebody
Yes.
gave them to me. I don't know.
Yes. Um, yeah, so I do have it broken down into 3 steps, and as Leigh mentioned, you'll probably not like step 3 initially, but then you'll love step 3. So the first step I recommend is finding your people, finding your safe group, your community, and whatever that looks like for you, but know that you have the support system around you as you're going into the next steps. We keep seeing more and more research around this, that we know that people, especially people coming out of trauma, that we cannot heal to the full capacity without a community around us. And if you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, well, that's great, but like, I don't know how to do that, or I don't know how to find people, just go back, find our how do we know if a community is
Part
safe?
1. Go back to our part 1, right, CG?
Yes. Um, and I think we tend to believe that we're more alone than we really are. And so to even say, oh, well, like I have these people, but none of them are super close. Well, maybe we explore. Can this person be closer? Are they safe? Do we want to be closer with them? Right. And so knowing that it's not going to be oh, well, tomorrow I have 5 new best friends. That's not what we're talking about here. But it is saying, okay, well, tomorrow, can I meet up with this person for coffee?
Right.
Is that the next step here?
Mhm.
And knowing that the ultimate goal is feeling like I have someone who knows me, knows the mess and the junk and all of it, and still keeps showing up,
Yeah.
right? And so if you have people who keep showing up, who are healthy and safe, then great. Like you are well on your way to having the resources you need.
And sometimes
So
this takes time, right? I
it
mean,
does,
I mean,
yeah,
it's not like you shoot it all in the first, you don't empty the gun on the very first time that you sit down for coffee. It's like
right.
knowing that these are progressive. You
Hmm.
progressive like progressively tell your story, reveal your story to somebody, and seeing that that they're safe, seeing that there's not judgment, seeing that there's not fix it, there's not all the things that we talked about with the red flags in part 2 that Ciji shared. I
Hmm.
think that is really, this is like the culmination of all of her teaching right here.
Yes. And I would encourage when you're thinking about what your people look like, um, is to understand that breadth of experience is beneficial. And so, like one of my closest friends is in her 60s, and that has been like so incredible for me because of her life experiences and what she is able to talk to me from a very different place than when I'm talking to people in their 20s and 30s, and like not that that's a problem, right? But like having a wide array of people that can speak to where we're at, and it will just help round out our life experience, and those connections are just so beautiful and wonderful. And so I would encourage um to not necessarily like look for somebody who looks exactly like you and where you're at right now.
I think that's so wise. And, I'm always looking for mentors, and I'm always looking for people that are a little bit older, have walked a little bit longer,
Mhm.
who have a little bit more boots on the ground time than I do. And I
Yes.
feel like that has always done me well
Mhm.
with my mentors. And it's funny, and looking around and saying, for me, it was looking around and saying, who has God brought to you? Who is around? And you
Yes.
might be surprised, like that little old lady who seems like she has it all together. She's like the perfect Christian woman. I mean, you start talking to people, and you will be shocked, my friends, about
Yes.
how much life those people have lived. And it's such a refreshing moment to realize that, wow, like you could teach me so much. And so
Yes.
I love having, I'm always looking for mentors, and I've been blessed to have some really incredible mentors.
Yes.
But and then as well, it's like your circle, I call them like your battle buddies, your
Mhm.
your trauma sisters and your battle buddies, the ones that have been on the field. We've all been
Yes.
injured, we've been dragged off the field, and sometimes we're
Yes.
dragging each other off the field to tend to one another's wounds. But that,
Yes.
how important that is to have your tribe, to have your people around you.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's shocking sometimes where you might actually, I found my mentor in a parking lot, Dr. Michelle Novotny. We met in the parking lot of a conference. So
Wonderful. And
random.
yes. And I think that that is such a great example that it seems random, right? But just allowing ourselves to be open to the possibility of like, oh, I ran into this person in the parking lot. Like I think the initial tendency is to be like, okay, whatever, I had this like one-off conversation, but why not allow the potential, right? And you can decide at any point, like, hey, like I recognize like maybe this person's not safe, or whatever it is, or the connection's not there in a way that helps support you. That doesn't mean that there's anything bad or wrong that's
No. And
happening.
there's some
Just
things that people can handle. Like I know
right,
with across the breadth of people's lives, there are certain things I can go to somebody for and go, I can talk to you about like this, and this, but I
right,
know this is your trigger. This is your blind spot, or this is your can't, no, that doesn't work. And so, and it's
right.
okay.
It is.
It's okay. Just
Yep.
for us knowing safe,
Yes.
how are people safe and how do they support you? It sounds so selfish, but it, that sounds
Yes.
so selfish to say it like this, Ciji, but it's like, how can you support me? But it's like, it's also, we have to learn how to take care of ourselves too, right?
Right. Well, and I think that for a lot of us, it does feel selfish because we've been told to not need, to not want, to not like express those things. And so to actually say, I need others and I need others in a way, in this particular way, automatically for those of us who have dealt with like, childhood traumas and abuses, it automatically triggers this sense of like, oh, well, that's just me being selfish, or that's me being needy, or I'm using people, or whatever. And in short, like that could be your motivation. So check it, right? Like if that's your motivation, maybe approach it differently. But like for most of us, it's really this journey of learning to trust, and learning to trust that if we say to someone, hey, I need you to show up in this way for me, that they will say, yes, I will, because I love you.
Yeah.
And that
That's
doesn't
so
like
wise.
being able to articulate what we need doesn't make us selfish. It makes us in tune.
Yeah. And also
And
knowing that a lot of times, this is something we talked about in our cohort. A lot of times it's like, I want to show up for you, CG, but as me showing up for you, I have a boundary right now and I'm going to call you back. Can you give me like, give me an
yep,
hour? Can we talk tomorrow? I'm in the middle of everything right now. Like, so I
right,
feel like those are those things that this is called acting the part of the grown up for us, like me learning how to act like a grown up because
yeah,
I have it for, many reasons, but yeah, these
yeah,
ideas of how do you do that? What does this look like? It's the back and the forth, and it's the sharing back and forth. It's not all the one side, the one side, the one
right,
side. It's
right,
these are healthy human interactions between people. And this is how we do this
right,
it's important because I don't think I
yes.
ever got to learn that before.
Um, yes, it is part of the journey for sure. And what I'm about to say is probably again its whole own separate like series in and of itself. But
Totally.
there's this idea of when we are not in touch with ourselves, like if we're not in tune here, we tend to fall into one of three roles, which is either the victim, the abuser, or the rescuer. And so when we're finding our community, one of the things that can happen, if as we start to share our stories, is that other people will fall into like a rescuer role. And so we just want to make sure we're aware of that, right? Like, is this interaction as equals? Like, even if they're a mentor, we're equals as people, right? Like, or is there this sense of like, this person is in a higher plane than I am, and like I'm down
Mm,
here and they're up here, right? Like we
mm.
want to make sure that part of what this healthy dynamic looks like is that we are equals coming into it, and this person might have more life experience that he or she is sharing, but we're still equal. does that
That's
does that
so
make sense?
good. That is so good. What were the four parts you called it? Victim?
Oh, so it's three parts. It's
Three
a
parts.
victim, abuser, or rescuer.
Oh, sister, that is amazing. Yes, we need to talk about that at another time.
Yes,
Okay, moving forward. Wow.
yes,
Okay.
moving forward, yes. So that's just step one, everybody, just so we're clear.
Step one,
Yes.
start making your own
um
circles of support.
yes. Step two is finding a mental health care professional. Right, there are people who are trained in helping people who have experienced trauma move forward. And so we need the peers, which is what we just talked about, but we also can really benefit from people who have the training, who understand the nuance and the psychology and the neurology and all of those pieces that lay people don't. Right, it's an additional level of support in a different way that we don't need to say I can figure this out on my own,
That's so
because there's
wise.
resources,
Oh my gosh. I wish somebody would have told me that so flipping long ago. Can I say flipping? Yeah, I can say flipping
Yes,
long because
you
it's
can.
our video.
Yes,
Honest to heavens, I wish, like, because thought for so many years inside, as who I am, being
Mhm.
inside the church, I'm like, I guess I just don't have enough faith. I guess I just can't. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I kept thinking if I would just pray more, maybe if I could
Yeah.
just memorize a little bit more Bible, maybe I could be healed and I wouldn't act like such a nut job. And it's like, that wasn't what it is. It was, hi, honey, you've been traumatized. You've been very, very hurt. You've
Right.
been very, very betrayed. You've had a really, really, and I would have never admitted this before, you've had a really, really hard story, and it's messy and it goes all over the place and it comes out all over the place. And these symptoms that you have are an indication of that. Like, I just kept thinking, gosh, I guess I'm demonic, or I am
Right.
unsaved, or I don't have enough faith. The Holy Spirit doesn't work on me. Is there a trauma survivor's guide to the Bible? And finally I got counseling, and for the love of Jesus, why didn't somebody say do this before?
Right.
Unearth and get to the truth at the bottom of it. And they have. That's why we have medicine. That's why we have medical communities. That is why there are like this huge team that can help support you, that are professionals, because they understand what your brain is doing. They can help you through it. They can get you better. It's like, why would I get the beat up? Why would I take the broke down horse over here when I could have the race horse over here to
Right.
run this race? I mean, I'm like, why didn't I? And then there's also the whole cohort as well. I keep saying the word cohort, forgive me. There's this whole group of, like, even the psychiatrists, like the
Mhm.
brain chemicals. And that's something that I've recently added to my team that has been absolutely life changing. And
Yeah.
I kept thinking, what's wrong with me? Why do I have to take drugs? What's my problem? Psychiatrists, what do they think, I'm nuts? And then I've been working with my doctor, and I'm like, I did not know. I never knew I could feel good. I
Right.
never knew I could, like, not lose my crap left and right. I never knew that I had so much anxiety all the time. Like, I couldn't turn it
Yes.
off. And throw a little ADHD in there, like complex ADHD. You, there is just so much going on with the brain chemistry of people who are struggling with trauma, and there's so much help, but we're ashamed. We struggle. We don't want to talk about the professionals, because it's been a stigma. It's been a stigma.
And
Gosh, when I was in the military, if you had mental problems back in the 80s and 90s, you're out. You're decommissioned. Like,
right.
you are the broke down horse. We don't want you anymore.
Right.
And same in the church, same in corporate America as well.
Yeah.
So
And I think fortunately the narrative is shifting on that
yeah.
that it's becoming more understood of like, oh, this person has been actively seeking mental health care. That means that there's a chance she's actually more well adjusted. Right? That like because you're getting more and more tools. And that's, again, going back to this idea of like, the therapist has their own set of tools that they've learned that's just a totally different set than
Right.
what a person without the training has.
So good.
And
So
if
good.
if there are all these tools that exist for this, why would we not pick them up and use them?
That's a really good question. I ask myself that a lot. I'm
Yeah.
51 years old, and this is I'm still asking myself this a lot. All right. So what else you got for us, CG?
Yes. All right. So, one is building the community, two, finding mental health care professional, and three is that you don't get a number three.
Ah!
Is
This,
get
I want
curious.
the answer, CG.
Yeah.
Give me the answer. I don't like you right now.
Yes. But it's get curious. It is ask yourself, what does health look like? What does living look like? In fact, for my next newsletter I'm posting, it's about living. Like how do we define living for ourselves? And then taking that step, because there's so many options out there that, if music is your jam, like maybe music therapy is the move for you. I'm totally tone deaf. That would not be helpful for me, right? Like,
That's
and
good to
like,
know about you.
yes. But great, like, right? Like maybe I would fare better with equine therapy or with dance therapy, or I've used the example of like rock climbing. Like there's so many ways to reconnect with ourselves, with others, with the earth, with God, with like there's just a plethora of options out there. And so instead of like me sitting here and saying like, oh, well, this is 3 and this is 4 and this is 5, you get to decide what those are for you. And
Kind of like a choose your own adventure.
it is a choose your own adventure. And, there's not a right answer and there's not a wrong answer. And you can try something and hate it, and you can try something and love it. And then you can do that for a little while and drop it. Like, there's no, like, life is way more flexible than we learned because of the trauma that we've experienced. And so part of the journey is being able to say, oh, I want, I want, and then saying I will then, right?
Wow.
I want to hike more, so I will hike more. Great. I want a garden, so I will garden. Like, and it seems so simple, but yet this is actually what it looks like to make progress. Because I remember very distinctly this one moment, maybe about 7 years ago, where somebody's like, oh, what's your hobbies? And I realized I'm just like, I don't know, healing from trauma. Like I didn't have, like, I could not identify anything that I enjoyed doing and then did it. And like,
Totally. Like,
like
what do you
really,
do for fun, Leigh? I write.
yeah,
I talk about the Bible. Well, that is actually fun for me. I love doing that. But like, I heal and try to act normal. And
right,
like, I don't know, what do I do for fun?
yes,
I'm learning how to have
yes,
fun. I don't know. And I would be like, what do you like to do for fun? How about we do that? Like, I don't know what I like to do. I don't
yes,
even know who I am right now. I don't have an
yeah.
identity.
But I think that this idea of like fun, like there's kind of this sense of like, oh, but like that's not important. Like I'm trying to heal, right? I'm trying to fix this. I'm trying to, like, I'm doing work, right? Like this
Yeah.
idea of like it must be difficult and a burden and challenge, but there's joy to be had. There's fun, right? Like if we can be healthier because we do a fun thing,
Mm.
let's do the fun thing,
I
right?
want, so I will.
Yes.
That's so
And
empowering.
it
Can we do
is.
a t-shirt with that on it? So I will. What was it?
I mean, that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I want, and so I will. That sounds like yo girlfriend.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, that's super empowering because I feel like I haven't had, it's only been recently that I've actually listened to my body and my mind and trying to get in tune with that and honoring that, like honoring me, and not, it's not always about what everybody else needs.
Right.
It's, I mean, again, it's probably, this has been one of the hardest things for me in the healing is
Right.
going, who am I and what do I want? I didn't even expect to be alive this long. I mean,
Yes.
like we just did like planning, life planning, and it was like, dream big. What are your 2-year, 5-year, 10, 20-year dreams? And I'm like, I don't dream. I just survive. Like that's all
Right.
I'm doing. And now I feel like I have the gift to be able to dream and
Mm-hmm.
to go, what do I want to walk? I want to walk the way of St. James, the via
Yes. Oh, I've done
in
it.
Spain. We need to do that together. I want to do that.
Yes. So let's
Um,
talk about that
we'll
sometime.
talk about that at a later date
Yes.
offline. But what do you have anything else you would like to share about healing? Where can we do? Will you give us your website for resources?
Sure. Yes. Well, so one quick thought that I just want to share before kind of going into like a little more specifics on the resources is also just knowing that this is an ongoing journey, right? That
Mm.
if you're saying, let's say I want to work on physical health, and so I take this step to that end, well, know that in a decade from now, you're not going to be at that point anymore. Like you get to keep checking in and keep being
Mm.
curious and keep saying, oh, actually, this wonderful, miraculous thing is healed now. And it actually brought up that I want to work on this now. Like it's
Yeah.
not that it is a like endless bounty of experiences that we can have.
And what's good in
And
one season can change from season to season.
absolutely. Yes.
Oh, give us some
Yes.
freedom.
Yes. Freedom. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of resources, the Louder Than Silence website has resources. So it's louderthansilence.org/resources. And we have some books there, some links with other organizations and the work that they're doing. And we have our workshops, our 12-week long cohorts, and so those are a great way to get plugged in and be in these spaces. We have in person here in Austin. We do virtual as well, and then really there's lots of local resources too. So whatever city that you're in, finding what recovery groups exist, and there's SASA, Sexual Abuse Survivors Anonymous. That's a national, I believe it's national, might be international organization. So if you want to find a more traditional support group, there are those as well. And so there's lots of options for resources. And really it's, as you're getting curious, I mean, Google it, right? You're like, oh, can I do X thing in this place that I live? I don't
That's
know.
so
Google it,
so
find
wise.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just to be given, I don't know, it sounds so silly. Coming from a woman as old as me, like to be given permission.
Hmm.
Friends, today we are giving you permission
Yes.
to be curious. We are
Yes.
giving you permission to find support networks. We are giving you permission to get therapy and professional help if that's what you need. We are giving you permission to have fun, and having fun and you want, and so you will, is not selfish. That is called that's like sanity and self-preservation and helping yourself be the best iteration in this world. Because honestly, this is the thing I've come back to again and again. I've got to show up in this world the best iteration as a wife, as a mom, as a friend, as a whatever. And if I don't do the work myself, like with the Holy Spirit and with faith and everything else, but also with the other resources, the other components that I need to show up the best way that I can, I am not going to do, I'm not going to accomplish what I feel like I existed on this earth to do. And so I just, as an author, as a podcaster, as a follower of Christ, as a whatever that is, as a daughter, as a ugh, thank you, Ciji, for these tips. It's so practical. It's like you're the mom. It's like you're the mom that like I got mommed and throughout this whole series. And if you want to reach out to Ciji, again, her website is www.louderthansilence, THAN, not THEN, louder than silence.org. And the cohorts are going to be, they start, what is it, twice a year? You do cohorts, right?
Typically,
Online
yes,
and it's in
like a
person.
fall and a springs. Yeah.
Yep. And so if that is some place you want to get more information about, as well as all the resources, she has really curated a beautiful list of resources over on her website as well. But you can also, I will be linking on mine, of course, to it, so you can get to see her too. But CJ, thank you. Gosh, thank you so much for doing these series of videos. I knew that when you and I were going to talk, we first did this interview on Facebook, and I thought, oh my gosh, people need to know this.
Yes.
It is so good.
Yes. And I am so encouraged by this conversation and by you asking me to do this, that like this is what the journey looks like. That just like sharing just a tiny little piece of my story, that 2 years ago I would not have been able to do this. Like this would have wrecked me. And just like seeing the progress where it's like, oh yeah, of course I would do this. Like, why wouldn't I?
Love it.
And so it's been really encouraging to me to be extended this invitation, because it's helped me grow and learn and shift and like do everything that I want to be doing to move forward. So
Real
thank you.
quick, what's your number one favorite book right now
Oh,
talking about a person's journey? I'm just curious.
ah,
Come on, CJ, this
wow.
should be really easy. Look at me. Look at my eyes. Look at my eyes. You know the answer to this one. What's your favorite
Um,
one?
it would have to be She Seems So Normal.
I knew you would say that.
Um,
That's what I want to hear.
yes, it is. I just got my pre-order. It came a couple of days ago, and so very excited about getting to share the joy.
Thank you so much. Can't wait. Can't wait
Yeah.
to hear your feedback. Well, and of course, Ciji endorsed the book as well. So this is why I had to ask her,
Yes.
I knew the answer. Ciji, thank you so, so much. I hope that this blesses many, many, many. And I'll be putting it up in a variety of different spaces and places. But thank you, everybody. Please reach out if you need help to either myself or Ciji, and go check out some of those resources. All right. Thanks, everybody. Peace. See ya.
Thanks.